Okay, welcome everyone to tonight's Wisdom Dharma Chat. We have a very special guest tonight, and I wanted to welcome Your Eminence. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Daniel.
I'm
Pleasure
gonna,
to be here.
I'm going to do a brief introduction, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So the ninth Gyalwa Dokhampa was recognized by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the Gyalwang Drukpa, and the late first Tuxi Rinpoche, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
As one of the spiritual heirs of the Gyalwa Drukpa, Gyalwa Dokhampa teaches Buddhist philosophy and practices of the Drukpa lineage internationally and spearheads the Drukpa centers in Australia, Nepal, Singapore, Hong Kong, all around the world. You have many centers, Your Eminence. How many centers do you have? Do you know?
32.
32.
Yes.
Oh, amazing. Amazing work.
South America. And
South America as
yes,
well.
it's mostly set up by my teacher. Then I look after them.
And I like the just the description of your work in your mind in your book, The Resting Mind.
Yes.
And it says that you have a real understanding of the pressures of modern life and how our crowded minds have left us too little space to stretch and grow. You show new ways to calm the body and mind, become more aware and better able to deal with problems and appreciate the moment. And that I was hoping we can talk a little bit about tonight. You can give us some ways to deal with this modern world, because you have had this teaching from this ancient lineage, but you're very much aware of the pressures of modern life. So I think we have a unique circumstance here to join the ancient wisdom with as solutions for this modern problems. But I wanted to start with this book here, because as I was showing His Eminence around wisdom publications, and we have many books here, and we have quite a few Tibetan books, and we were going through the library, and Rinpoche, His Eminence pointed to one book in particular, and he said, "This is one of my favorite books." And that started an incredible conversation. So I took that as a sign saying we should start there.
Yes.
So Your Eminence, would you tell us what this book is, and why so it captured you when you saw it?
I think when I was very young, until the age of 15, I didn't know how to read English or, speak English. So my favorite, that time there was no YouTube and social media. So my favorite entertainment was going to the library. So that time I picked up this book, and I was very fascinated because it speaks about you can say legendary or even a mythical king in Tibet who was sent by Guru Padma Sambhava to subdue the negative forces in the world. So he's a warrior king, but who is a manifestation of Guru Padma Sambhava. So every time there's in that each story there's for example, if there's a warrior fighting, like I was sharing with you, Daniel, it's very I don't think it would work into 21st century war, but in that war is like if you meet two warriors, first they will sing to each other who they are, what's their value, and then they will say, okay, now you shoot me, I'll wait for you, let's see how strong your arrow is, and then after then they were so kind of convinced of their own blessings and their own that they are not affected, and then shoot the other one. So what I like about this was I felt that there were a lot of kind of moral values, of a value of how to lead your life. For example, in the one story, when they are singing to each other, they will say that if you are the sign of a very base person, very third class human being, is that in front of your wife and children, you are like a tiger, ready to shout, to lord over, and assert your authority. But in the front of enemy, you are like a cat, instead of the growl, you just say meow.
Yeah.
Right? And that actually shows that you are someone who actually lacks courage. A good human being, a courageous, a true, a human being, man, for example, is that in front of their family, in front of the loved ones who are there with them 24/7, who have done so much for them, he's always gentle, forgiving, understanding. And in the front of enemy who wants to fight with him, he is courageous. He's like a tiger. And there's so much things to, I think, right? For example, in our day-to-day life, how many of us are friendly, understanding towards our own family, community, right? And how do we, how polite we are usually to strangers. So there's like this, there are many things to, I think that, to learn about what is the meaning of courage, and what is the meaning of a great human being. For example, another story is that he said that if someone gives you a food and you cannot repay that kindness, that means you are a shameless person. You don't have a gratitude. If someone says something you cannot reply, that means you are a stupid person. If someone harms you and your family and you cannot defend yourself, you are a coward. So that was a kind of, I think, how a society function. I don't think 100% from spiritual, but from more practical point of view. Right?
So these are the epics of King Gesa.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And how old were you, Rinpoche, in your eminence?
When I started reading them, I was probably around 9 years old.
9 years old.
Yes.
So your friends were out playing and you were in the library reading King Gesa.
Yes, because being grew up in the Rinpoche in a very strict Himalayan tradition, we were not allowed to mingle with other children and play, so we were supposedly special treatment. So special treatment was you cannot play, but you can go to the library.
Special treatment is not allowed to play.
Yes, but I always think that, whatever life experience we go through, we should never compare it to life experience of another person. Because of what you ever experience, you have gone through, it has its own beauty. It has its own challenges, but it also has its own beauty. And comparison just kills the joy of, right? For example, because of whatever that upbringing, I get to read so many epics of Gesa.
These were your comic books, but they had a higher meaning, right? And you were learning about courage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is a type of wisdom. And it's like a Buddhist wisdom, but it's in the context that you could think about how do I want to be in the world?
Yes.
Exactly. And what does it mean to be courageous?
Yes.
And I guess, this idea of fear comes up on this in the text as well, right? This idea of a bodhisattva as courageous. And one of the things you have to overcome is fear, and people might be fearful of so many things like emptiness. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about fear.
I think we have a fear for many reasons. And I think one of the main reasons we have fear is we are looking for certainty in life. If you have a career, you want certainty in your career that you will always have this career. If you're in a relationship, you want the certainty that your relationship will always be there, right? Yeah. So we always begin with the forever word. Yeah. However, the reality of life is nothing is certain, nothing is constant, right? The happy moments we are going through is like a sunshine. And we are experiencing this wonderful sunshine because the right cause conditions, I don't know, the air from the Pacific, or I don't know, from the Atlantic, the clouds, all of these are in the right cause conditions. So we are experiencing a wonderful sun. But because we are experiencing the sun, because of these conditions will change. So I think when we are not able to accept, we are not able to understand, even the happy moments that we are experiencing is arising due to all of these causal conditions. And these causal conditions will change into stormy weathers, rain weather, snow, and then snow will also change into sunny weather. If we can't accept that, then I think, that fear and anxiety will always be gripped by that.
It's a really interesting way of putting it, because you described fear as having to do with impermanence in some way,
Yes.
in that we're scared that things might change,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Fear has to do with fear of impermanence in a way.
Yes.
But the solution is also understanding impermanence.
Yes.
Understanding that even the amazing moments are impermanent.
Yes. So enjoy it.
Enjoy it
while it lasts.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so the fear comes from impermanence, but the
Fear
way
comes
through
from-
it is to understand impermanence.
Yes, I think fear comes from lack of understanding impermanence.
Okay.
Yeah.
so that you are unprepared for the changes.
Mhm.
So you forget to take your umbrella. You're busy enjoying the sunshine. You believe that it will always be sunshine.
Yeah.
If you have umbrella, at least you rain, but you know how to not to get wet.
Yeah. Yeah, and is this a little bit like refuge, right? Because when we have fear, we are always trying to find refuge from that fear.
Yes.
What will help us?
Yes.
And often we're going to things that are impermanent.
Yep. Yeah.
And we put our hope
True.
in these impermanent things that will let us down, right?
We rely on unreliable.
We rely on the unreliable. So we have to rely on our understanding of what can we rely on?
I think we can rely on if you want to use Buddhist word, you can rely on the karma, right? Or if you want to not to use the Buddhist word, because I don't really like to use the traditional Buddhist words, because it makes it seem like Buddhism is so complicated. And, I'll say like karma, right? For example, I say that even if you not be a Buddhist, but you can understand that karma basically means if you fight with your wife in the morning, tonight you don't get dinner. That is karma.
Cause and effect.
Cause and condition, right?
Yeah, cause and conditions. Yeah.
So I think that one thing you can rely on, I think what I learned, one of the best teachings about Buddha, just a few months ago, I was staying in a hotel in Sikkim, and one of I think the managers, F&B, he walked up to me. He said, "Oh, you seem like you're a teacher. So can you tell me, I'm going through a difficult time. What should I do?" And I said, "I don't know, but Buddha did say that if you want to know your past, look at your present. If you want to know your future, look at the choice and the decisions that you are making now." So I said, you don't need to judge yourself. I was a bad person, judging and guilt tripping doesn't really work, but you need to be very clearly looking back. What are the decisions and the choice that I made in the past that landed me in the thick soup that I'm now? And if I want to get out of this situation, what are the decisions and the choices that I should make? Right? So these decisions and the choices, if you use the Buddhist word, is a karma. But in our day-to-day life, it just means choice and decisions that we make every day in our relationship, in our career, in our health, even in our way of looking at life. It's a decision, it's a choice.
It's very empowering.
Yes.
Because we can act.
And that is, you can rely on.
Yeah.
That your choice and decision will have consequences for better or worse.
Yeah. A lot of people think karma people might not think that karma is an empowering message. It's like, oh, this is my karma, right? But the way you presented it was very empowering. Is, what you do now
is
your choice, your decision.
Yes.
And will determine, where you go.
Your future,
Yeah.
Because even when we are affected by others' karma, others' cause conditioned, there's also our own karma in the play together, right? For example, if you insult a very confident person who is a confident, not in the sense that he's the greatest, but in the confidence, he's a confident. For me, from my understanding of, confidence from Buddhist perspective, is to, to see everybody as equal.
Yeah.
No one is greater, no one is lower than you. Everyone's equal. It's just the concept makes somebody, today you are the president, after, November, I don't know, one day you are no longer president. It's just a concept.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're confident,
no matter what insult people, insult you. You may be affected for a short duration, but not really, because you are confident in your understanding of, illusion of great and nothing, failure and success, right? You are not affected. So when we are affected, some part is about others, how they treat us, how the conditions external, but a large part is also condition within us that makes us vulnerable to these external factors.
I want to talk about this theme, confidence, seems to be coming up.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about, passing out this idea of pride, ego, and how confidence might go alongside humility. And I'm thinking about the King Gesa story you told about, I think we all have times in our life where we feel like a tiger, but we also have times in our lives where we feel like we're meowing, right?
Yeah.
And, that's a sign that maybe when you feel like a tiger, it's more pride than confidence if sometimes you're meowing, right?
Yeah.
So how do we get beyond meowing, but go to a place that's not prideful, but is a confidence with humility?
I think one very interesting thing about all the teachings that Buddha has taught, he always taught from two perspectives, relative perspective and ultimate perspective. So from ultimate perspective, I think confidence should arise not from the fact that you believe you are the greatest. This is how I think many of the modern society, be confident, you're the greatest, talk to yourself in the mirror, But if you really think about it, it's not really true. Are you really the greatest, right? Are you the greatest in comparison to who? In comparison to who? By whose standard, right? It's a relative thing. If everybody suddenly disappears in the world and you're alone, you can't say, I'm the richest person in the world, because there is no one else except you, right? You can't say, I have, right? It will mean nothing. Even the wealth and success and the failure defined by relativity. So that is why from the spiritual Vajrayana, we talk about wisdom of equanimity, beyond the understanding that success, failure, great are conceptual. The reality is, equanimity. Nature is equanimity. Human being defines success, failure, beauty, ugly, right? Even the most beautiful woman in the world, if she goes to a tiger will say, delicious lunch. So from the ultimate point of view, I think that, wisdom of equanimity is what gives you confidence. That is beyond the need to be courageous or meow, doesn't matter. But in terms of relatively, practically speaking, what we can learn from Ling Gesar is that, when he said that towards your family and friends, be gentle. It means that to those who depend on you, do not let them down. And to protect the ones who are dependent on you, learn to be courageous. Right? Because you have to live in the world. You have to face the reality of the day-to-day. But at the same time, kind of deeper at the back, there is another layer where it's like an ocean. The depth of the ocean is never shaken, no matter the wave. But on the top, we are surfing and, enjoying, Titanics are singing and so many things are happening, but the depth is never shaken. So I think that we have to have this kind of two perspective, relative and ultimate.
This is brilliant. So in a way, what I'm thinking when I hear you say this is that the confidence based on the relative has an insecurity built in.
And a falsehood.
Because it's relative, you're not secure in your confidence.
Exactly.
But there is a possibility of a confidence that's related to the absolute.
Yes.
And that's somehow related to the wisdom of equanimity.
Yes.
And it's maybe there's like a confidence that has to do with our Buddha nature, this type of thing.
Yes. There's one of the name of
Buddha nature is one of the names.
Yeah.
Emptiness is one of the names. Equanimity, Mahamudra, Dzogchen, these are all just a definition given to the reality. So equanimity is also a reality. By reality, no one is great, no one is failure. But by concept, that also depends on which era, right? If you are successful in Tibet, for example, 100 years ago, you don't have a Bitcoin, you don't have a credit card, you don't have an apartment, you have thousands of sheep and cows and, sacks of rice, and that's your bank balance, right? So, which era, which concept, right?
Yeah, so there's I like this idea of the confidence that's based on the ultimate rather than relative.
Yes.
And it's a confidence that has to do with the wisdom of equanimity. And maybe it's an understanding that no matter what the situations is, I have everything I need anyway.
Yes.
In a way.
Primordially. So, and good thing about this is that even if you meet the most important person in the world, you will not feel lack of something,
Yes.
If you meet the poorest person in the world, you will not look down and feel you are greater. And that's a very good way to relate to other people.
So it would seem that we already have this.
Exactly.
So how do we, so I can say intellectually, I already have this, but do I feel like that as I go through my day? Often not. So I guess the question I want to ask next is, how do I connect with this confidence that is not based on some relative conditions?
So first we have to, I think, understand and agree that we need that confidence. Right? That's the destination. And once you know the destination, the journey can be many things. It can be prostration, it can be meditation, it can be yoga, These are methods, basically, because right now we are well practiced in lack of confidence, because we have surrounded ourselves from the child to from what we watch, what we read, to so many concepts. Right? I was talking yesterday with a friend of mine that recently I met one friend of mine in Australia, a young man. He was basically telling me about his life. And he was kind of, like saying, is my life going the right way or no? He wanted me to judge, He was saying, I have a girlfriend, I have a hobby, I have this and that. I said, oh, you sound like a list in the Cosmopolitan magazine, list of things I should be doing by, 30, right? And just think who created this list, and is it right? I mean, if you take the same list and go back to our forefathers 100 years ago, they will say, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right? What hobby? Like you can't say fishing is hobby. They fish there for their survival.
Yeah. And even if you fast forward in the future, that list will look ridiculous.
Yes.
Imagine like someone from the past came and said, man, I have 100 yachts.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, so what now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is the relativity again.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of, I think the confidence is what we should aim for. And then the way of is basically, I think, is practice. That is where I think if you understand that, then whatever practice you do, whether it's a chanting, meditation, you are doing it with understanding that it leads you to the wisdom of equanimity. Otherwise, many people do hundreds of thousands of prostration, and if you ask, why are you doing it? They probably say, I don't know. Yeah. Everybody else was doing it, or my guru told me, so I did it,
Yeah.
Right?
Your Eminence, maybe you could explain a little bit about the word equanimity?
Yes.
What do we mean when we say equanimity?
I think equanimity is equanimity between all the things we define as dualistic.
Okay.
Rich and poor, right?
Okay.
Beautiful and ugly, success and failure. So these are relative truth, conceptual truth, not the ultimate truth. Right? That's why I said, tiger may not find you beautiful.
Yes, yes. So equanimity is stepping out of the relative.
I think equanimity is the state of the reality.
Okay.
And, relativity is where we are caught in.
Yeah.
So we are caught in all of this comparison and, these
Yeah.
two ways of looking at life, positive, negative, accepting, rejecting, expectation, fear, hope. All of this arises because of lack of understanding of equanimity.
Mm-hmm. And the way to go beyond, a lot of the time you feel stuck. You feel stuck in the relative. It feels like there's no choices. You have to choose one or the other. You're like on a seesaw. How do we hold the seesaw flat? How do we go through like the normal day?
I think, that if you are a Buddhist practitioner, every practice that you do will lead to that sooner or later.
Yeah.
Even a simple thing as being generous. When from a spiritual perspective, when we are being generous, we are not really giving object. We are giving the concept of that object being valuable or invaluable, right? That is what we are trying to let go.
Yeah.
So even the act of generosity can slowly lead you to this understanding of equanimity.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I think that these are in a way more practical. Like for example, usually Himalayan Buddhists will get up in the morning and offer 7 bowls of water to the Buddha, right? And very interestingly, just I've recently wrote a play, and I was supposed to, make a drama about it, about a kid asking a mother, why do you need to make offering to Buddha? And the answer is that Buddha doesn't need your offering.
Yeah.
It is just that by you getting up first thing in the morning and instead of watching, social media or CNN and disturbing your mind, first thing you go is go to the shrine and make a 7-bowl offering to Buddha. Why? Because it is telling yourself the one thing that you value the most in your life is what Buddha represents. That is wisdom and compassion.
Yeah.
What does compassion mean? It means that every sentient being, like the mother tells the child, the fact that I get up early in the morning to look after all of you is not because I don't want to sleep, but because I care for you all. That's my sacrifice. Right? That is compassion. And the fact that the child couldn't get up in the morning to help the mother is because he was busy playing video games. That is the cause and condition. And understanding the cause and condition is the wisdom. So by going to Buddha first thing in the morning, making offering, is that we value wisdom and compassion, the foremost in our life. And after that comes money, career, etc., which we need to survive.
Yeah, of course.
Right? But we are just, only thing the Dharma is asking us is not to reject the wealth and success. Just let's not make that our ultimate goal.
Yeah. You just said wisdom is understanding the causes and conditions.
Yes.
I think that's very, very insightful.
Yeah.
I just was thinking, it occurred to me that in Vajrayana, isn't the wisdom of equanimity related to purifying pride? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so it's very related here.
Yes,
We're talking about confidence.
Yes.
Yeah, so even on a Vajrayana level, there's the
Nyamnyi Yishe,
yes,
wisdom of equanimity.
Yeah.
Is one of the 5 Buddhas.
one of the 5 Buddhas. Yeah.
Yes. 5 wisdom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to, that was very rich just on one story from Geshe. So I'm wondering, can you share another story from that you remember reading about the Geshe epics? Is there something else you want to share?
Yeah, I think another thing that actually one of the reason why I like the Kesargi story was also about, I remember when I was growing up, my guru used to teach me that one thing you should never do is let down the people who depend on you, be it your students, be it, So let down doesn't mean, again, when I say let down, we might feel that, oh, that means I have to take care of the world, save the world, Let down, I think when we talk of taking care of other people, it's a very interesting concept. There's two ways of looking at it. One way of looking at it is, I have to save the world. I have to save my child from, all the difficulty they're going through. If you have that kind of thinking, you are in for a difficult life. Huh? Because basically you are saying, you're indirectly or directly, you are saying that you are a God who can control the destiny of the people who depend on you or your children. And then when children are doing well, you feel, that is my achievement. When they're not doing well, you feel it's my failure, right? If that was really true, then you are Almighty Lord, who can, control the destiny. That's not what we are talking about. We are talking about that as a teacher, as a parent, did I do my best to create the positive condition for my children to thrive? Be it education, love, be it, if you're a student, the correct guidance, the correct affection, correct discipline, but also recognizing the fact that you can create the condition, but everybody has to walk their own journey, including your children, your student, right? Right? So you have to create the condition. That is your responsibility, right? It's not our responsibility to control the life of the people. So that is like not letting down. So that is what I always ask myself as a teacher, to all the students I'm responsible. Did I did my best to share a little bit of wisdom I know, conditioned, right? And if they do well, I'm happy for them. I say it is your hard work.
Yeah.
I just create the condition. It's not because of me, it's because of you.
So there's a little bit of letting go there as well. You create the conditions, but you can't do it for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not really letting go. I think it's realizing the reality.
Realizing the reality.
And
the wisdom of understanding the situation.
And destroying the illusion that, that you can control others' karma. You can't.
So as a teacher with students and creating those conditions, what are you thinking are the most important conditions to put in place for students? What do students need?
I think the first thing that a teacher should have is a sincerity, to do what is good for them rather than what's good for you. Even when you're doing podcasts, it's the same thing, right? We should be talking about what's good for the listener, not what's good for the speaker, right? I think that is the first. And the second is be it a student or be it, I think that in terms of needs will evolve. So depending on whether it's your children or school, even podcast, depending on the situation, the circumstances, I think the needs will change. So we have to also be able to adapt to that. Right? Even the teaching, right? If you directly go and give somebody Vajrayana teaching, you are doing more harm than a benefit. First teaching, you should just talk about how to handle romantic relationship. That is the most important topic in the beginning. Which is right.
Do your students ask you for advice?
I had one guy, he was about to get married. He was getting nervous. So he asked me, what do you think? I said, I don't know, You probably have more experience, but from my perspective, that when you like somebody and you're about to get married, the fact that you like somebody, whatever you like about them, is a reflection of your own preference rather than that person, right? Somebody love talkative wife. If the wife is silent, they feel very upset. Somebody loves a wife who doesn't talk too much, right? So when you feel you love that person, in reality, you are loving reflection of your own concept of a perfect wife or perfect person. I said, that's all I know.
Wow. So you're loving your own sort of concept of what is.
And you're disliking also your own concept.
You have a lot of responsibility then. It brings a lot of responsibility back to you, yeah?
I would say a lot of choices.
A lot of choices,
because if its problem is in somebody else, you're in trouble. There's nothing you can do.
Totally.
But if it's within you, you just have to change a little bit of way you look at things, and you have the perfect woman, perfect friend, perfect husband in your life.
You don't have to look for maybe in the Himalayas or I don't know, some romantic places to look for the perfect partner.
So it sounds like we have extraordinary power to change our life.
Yes.
By the way we approach it.
Yes, because life experience is a reflection of your own, we say that your concepts are like a mirror.
Yeah.
And your experiences are like reflection in the mirror.
So what if I'm listening to His Eminence and I'm thinking, yeah, this sounds right. This is like, yeah, a lot of the experience of my world seems to be coming from me, right? How I think about the world, how I think about this person. So you've convinced me. Yeah. It's like, there seems like at least I'll give 90% coming from me, right? Maybe 100, but I'll give 90% of this experience.
Yeah.
Is my formulation somehow, because it's the way that I'm coming at it.
Yes.
So, okay, I'm intellectually in.
Yes.
Then I listen to this wonderful podcast from His Eminence, and I'm like, yeah, His Eminence is good point there. But tomorrow I wake up, and then how do we go and the world, it seems like the world starts happening to me, right? And so how do we go from this intellectual understanding that, yeah, I'm mostly creating this experience, or I have or at least I have the power to have a different experience? How do we go from that understanding and belief to actually the next day getting up and enacting a different type of experience?
Perhaps listen to the podcast again. In a way, I'm joking, but in a way, our environment really does affect how we look at the life. So if you are in an environment, like for myself, I love, when I was younger, I used to love all kinds of music, from the romantic music, sad music too. But nowadays I love the mantra chanting music.
Wow. Yeah.
Because I found out that, that when you listen to other types of music, usually it evokes either sadness or happiness, so which is actually triggering the hope and fear.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're enjoying the sad and something sad, negative, disappointment, hope. But if you're listening to the mantra music, nowadays there are so many melodious music on YouTube, AI generated. It doesn't evoke hope and fear. Right? So I enjoy listening to this music for hours, whether I'm driving or whatever, I enjoy. Not because of devout religion from point of view, just the fact that it sounds nice, it's a sacred, I respect that, but it doesn't evoke hope and fear.
Yeah.
So that kind of environment we have to create. Even if you're a Vajrayana meditationer, for example, at the end of all of your practice is last final practice is to not think about the past, to not think about the future, because if you're thinking of past, means you are distracted. If you're going haywire into future imagination of so many scenarios, you are distracted. So bring your mind to the present. And just being present is not enough. In the present moment with awareness, whatever thoughts come, don't reject, don't accept. Because the very act of rejection and acceptance is a fabrication, which is the reason why we are stuck in all the concept. Right? And that is amazing, because I do enjoy listening to reading and watching YouTube. I see news and opinions from so many right wing, left wing, and if you listen only to one side, and usually the social media, they have algorithm, I think that they usually show you what you like.
Yeah.
If you listen to one Buddhist talk, every time they will show you. If you listen to Andrew Tate one time, it will come all the time, right? Right? So but when you listen to these, left wing, right wing, it's so convincing. It's so convincing, but only when you do the meditation and remain in the relaxed, unfabricated moment, you realize that, everything is right conceptually. Everyone is right from their own conceptual point of view, from their perspective. If you look at it, from there, it is right. If you look at it from other side of the table, it's also right, But from the meditational point, awareness point of view, you realize that both are right and both are wrong.
You said something about relaxing into the unfabricated.
Yes, rejection and acceptance are both fabrication.
Yeah. So rejection and acceptance are both types of fabrication that we want to relax instead.
We want to be aware and leave everything as it is.
Yeah. So you were talking about listening to just radio music.
Yep.
And radio music invokes fear and hope, I think you were saying.
Yep.
We talked a lot about fear. What's the issue with hope? Maybe you could say a few things about that.
Generally speaking, between hope and fear, of course, I think, hope is good. Right? But, if you go a little bit deeper, hope is also, behind the hope, there's a desire.
Yeah.
And behind the desire is a belief, again, that things will remain permanent, that things are not conditional, things will not change. So there's ignorance behind the desire, right? And when that desire is not fulfilled, or the fear of your hope not getting fulfilled, fear comes. So hope and fear, in a way, it's two sides of the coin. It kind of, fuels one another. So that's why yogi is free of hope and fear.
Yeah. Okay, so if that makes a lot of sense. So this is red dog, right? Rewa and dogma, yeah. So there's hope and fear, yeah.
Yes.
So then you have but then the instruction is not to accept, not to reject, right?
Intellectually.
Intellectually.
Yes.
So
practically, you must, accept the food, reject the poison, or you will go to the hospital.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So there's a problem with both hope and fear.
Yes.
But the actual solution to it is not to hope that you don't have it or fear that you have it, but just can you tell us a little bit more about this relaxing with awareness, unfabricated?
I think, for example, like if you look at this cup, you don't have to think on your mind. Even if you're looking at this cup, if you just look at this cup, with awareness, you can, with awareness, or you can see the cup. But you can see it without defining it. Okay. Defining it will be, this looks like a Himalayan design. This looks quite expensive. Oh, this looks cheap. Oh, it's a little bit of chipped here.
Yeah.
I cannot drink in the chip cup. It will lower my status. Oh, and they said, no, even a chip can be beautiful. There's a Japanese tradition where broken cups can become a beauty. Oh, now it is okay. So many concepts, even just a cup. We don't see the cup as a cup. We see cup, with so many definitions. Right?
Yeah.
So that is the meaning of meditation, the relaxing the nature. If you see the cup, just see it. Don't put so many labels. If you hear a sound, just hear it, right? Just hear it without so many labels. Same with the emotion, whatever emotion arises, just observe it, right?
Yeah.
So that is, so just observe it and let it be, right? Don't create so many, labels and definitions and then trap yourself in your own definition.
This is the point. You get trapped in your own definitions.
Yeah, exactly.
And just to see it quite plainly keeps open a whole heap of possibilities.
Yes, right.
Yeah. Which just seems like a beautiful way to live. And you can imagine doing this in meditation, like when you hold up the cup and you just say, okay, I'm not going to do all this fabrication of thinking and all this. And so that might seem possible in meditation, but then out in the world, is there ways of training yourself to be out in the world and not getting lost and trapped in your own definitions as much?
I heard a wonderful story from my teacher about His Holiness, the previous Dünjom Rinpoche.
Mm.
I heard that he loved staying in the US, in New York, especially Times Square. And when he used his favorite place to do Gana Chakra was Times Square.
Wow.
You know? Because for us, if you go to Times Square, we will see, we will not see as it is. We will see, oh, if there's some shop, they say, wow, there's a 50% sales, awareness has gone out the window,
Yeah.
right? If you see something you do not like or something attractive but I think for great masters like him, when they just see the glitters and the hustle bustle of the Times Square and they see things as it is without definition. And that is the Gana Chakra, right? Essence of the Gana Chakra is the union beyond definitions, right? All of, Gana Chakra doesn't just mean eating one food, drinking, and then mixing it in the stomach. Oh, Gana Chakra is digesting now. that is that is third class Gana Chakra. That is just a method. There's not the essence of Gana Chakra. Gana Chakra is union of equanimity, right? So that is why His Holiness Dünjom Rinpoche, I heard, he loved his Gana Chakra was Times Square. His offering was, all the so-called positive, negative, sales, discount, and all of these was all the sound, pleasant, honking, shouting, crazy people taking their shirt off, These were the, these definitions and, the dualistics were what he offered, in the reality state, right? So if you're able to do like him, everyday life is a practice.
And when you mentioned equanimity again, we're
Yes.
back to
Yeah.
that wisdom.
Yes.
It's so nice hearing about this story of Dudjom Rinpoche. I'm wondering if there's other past masters or even historical figures that have been a real inspiration for you.
I think, there are many, all of the, the rich thing about the Himalayan Buddhism is that we have so many traditions. We have the monastic traditions where they're traditional, they study, they are great monks, learned, that's the one part. And then we have these crazy yogis, like Drukpa Kunle, divine madman, he does all the crazy things, but behind every craziness, there's a truth, which kind of peels away our definitions, right? I think Drukpa Kunle is one of the great examples, as well as I think all the yogis, Mahasiddhas.
Can you tell us a Drukpa Kunli crazy story? Please.
I don't know, you might get censored.
Yeah, probably.
I think one funny thing he said is that, when people are, as a couple, whatever they do is behind the door, very private as a couple, consummating their marriage. But when they have a children, they proudly show it to the world.
The cause is hidden, the result is proudly shown.
So he's decrying the concepts that traps us. He's not telling us that no, from now on, please give a show to everybody.
Yeah.
But he's just showing us how trapped we are. Right? Spiritual. I think we have to always go back to Guru Rinpoche's teaching that he said, my view is like a space, sky.
Yeah.
Where eagles can fly and there's a space. So I'm not bothered by somebody didn't look at me correctly, or somebody said something to me incorrectly, right? Maybe they're not looking at you in the wrong way. Maybe they're just born with a cross eye, right?
Could be.
Yeah, or maybe they have some problem in the eye. There's some dust. But I'm not bothered by all of these concepts, dualistic concept. But in terms of my behavior, I respect even the smallest thing that harms other, I avoid. Even the smallest thing that gives happiness to others, I cultivate, right? So I think, this balance we have to, thinking wise, we have to be like Drukpa Kunle.
Yeah.
And behavior wise, please follow the law and order.
Yeah, Drupal he's sort of showing our like inconsistencies in our beliefs and our
Yeah.
concepts, right?
And how we all take it for guaranteed,
Yeah. It's not advice for how to live. It's
knowledge.
advice for understanding that, what we are often what we fix to is not-
Assumptions.
yes, yeah, like that.
Breaking down assumptions.
Breaking down assumptions,
Yeah.
yeah. Which is like really working on the view.
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't question the assumptions.
Yeah.
Many of our assumptions are taken for granted.
I think the audience, maybe it's nice to tell them a little bit about the connection with the Gesa epics and Dokhampa, the previous Dokhampas.
Oh, I see. So interesting thing about the Kesar is that there is no single author for the Kesar's epic. There's like 30 or 40 something epic. Each of them are written by a practitioner or somebody who maybe a normal person, and suddenly he got the vision of the entire story, and then he writes down the story. Right? So all of the Gesars, they have a common kind of similarity, but they may be written by people who are between them centuries. And one of the writer in the I think the latest was the HE Gyalwa Dokhampa. It is said that one day he had a vision where he saw all his warriors except the King Kesar, because he himself was the Kesar, reincarnation of the Kesar. And he also wrote 3 of the Kesar's epic because he could remember, his past life. So it was about the time when he was, I think he was born, and when Kesar was born also, he was born at a time where his uncle took over the power, and he and his parents were kind of, thrown out of the country. And, and one very interesting thing is that, so at that time there was a discussion about, in a way, it's like how you raise your child is a question of that. So there were some people who said, no, like we must, enthrone him and bring him up. But one of the wisest person of the link said, we should not. Because rather the hardship that he goes through will define him, and he will naturally rise to become the king, rather than us just making him a king. Let his experience of the life shape him into a great king. And that's what they did. And that's how he became a king, through his own effort.
This like experience creates a king, not the being placed on a
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, somebody, do you want to give your child $1 million, or do you want to teach your child how to make $1 million?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? If you give your child, he may lose it in a year, but if you teach, he'll probably be a millionaire for life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Well, with that history, it's not surprising that you, as a young child, for me, it's not. I can see you as a young child being attracted to this text, because there's a history that goes back further.
Yes. And I found it like, especially there was one part about, if you're a sign of a first class, second class, and third class human being, is that if you're a first class human being, eagle can fly within you. That means you don't get disturbed by small things, right? Middle class is somebody can fit sword, spear, and arrow. A third class person, even an ant, will not fit in that person, because he get irritated by everything. Everything has to go his way. Everyone has to, whole world has to follow his wishes. Small thing doesn't go, he gets irritated. His life, right? No tolerance, right? And I think that is a very important tolerance, right? Especially in the world where we have so many divided opinions, and right? In the past, if you are born in a certain country, probably you all have similar opinion, but now no, because of the social media, right? Even in Himalaya, you are eating burgers and pizza. Right? So Taylor Swift, right? So in this day and age, so many, we are living in a very world where so many people have different ideas and different concepts, right? So I think the tolerance, generally speaking, I think tolerance is very important.
Yeah, this is interesting. So the higher It's the metaphor is interesting. So the higher way of being is to be so open that the eagle can fly. There's a
Yes.
lot of spaciousness, a lot of
Yes.
tolerance. The lowest is you can't even tolerate like the ant.
Yes.
There's not much tolerance. What is the meaning? There's the spear and the sword. What does this mean?
Because compared to the eagle flying, you need a lot of space. Sword, spear, and arrow doesn't take that much.
Okay. You like an arm's length.
Yeah,
is what you
exactly.
need. Yeah,
So
got it.
you can't tolerate too much,
Yeah.
but to some extent you can tolerate.
Mhm.
If
So-
you're going to get married, you need at least a medium one.
Just ask my wife. I think, so it's wonderful to hear, like, and totally, yeah, we all want to be like have the eagle spaciousness, right? So, of course, the question is how,
Yes.
right? How to at least get the middle, how to get like, what are the instructions for this type of tolerance?
I think it goes back to the same, learn to, recognize, like the Drupal said, how many of the concepts that we have, are our own concept, and we are trapped in that. Even the concept of how husband should be, how wife should be, is a concept. A concept of how a wife should be in the Himalayas in the United States would be extremely different, right? So if you're in Himalaya, you probably have to adapt to Himalayan view. If you are getting married to New Yorker, probably learn the New Yorker way. Probably have a more peaceful life. No?
Yeah. It needs like a flexibility of mind. Like you use this, I like this, you're trapped in your own definitions.
Yes.
And so you need the flexibility of mind to rethink your definitions in a way.
I think in every relationship, I remember one of my teacher, he gave a talk and he said that, he gave a metaphor that husband comes home, very tired from the work. And the wife, gives him a rose. Even though what he wants is a glass of water. And the wife is resting comfortably in the middle of the night, and the husband wakes her up and says, I love you so much. And she says, please let me go back to sleep. I have early morning tomorrow. Right? So even when we express our love, we are trapped by our own idea of what will make other person happy. And that causes a lot of conflict.
So it seems like flexibility of mind means the ability to think from another's perspective.
Yes, and understand that even your way of expressing and living is your own concept. It's not to say that you are right or they are wrong, but we just have to understand that we are both, communicating with miscommunication, misunderstanding.
Yeah. There's another topic I wanted to talk about, and it was inspired by, again, we were walking around the wisdom, and I had some calligraphy I wanted to I showed you, and I didn't know what it said, but you were able to say that it was a prayer, to Green Tara.
Yes.
And so I thought, oh, this is a good topic for us. Yes. And so, what we've been talking about was inspired by Gesar.
Yes.
And we got very psychological.
Yeah.
Right? And then if we're going to talk about Green Tara, it feels like a right turn a little bit. Like this is all Buddhist, right? We're talking about mind, psychology, fears, hope, and then Green Tara. So how do we connect? What is this Vajrayana sort of perspective? How does it relate to what we've been talking about?
That is a question I asked myself many times, because as a Vajrayana teacher, people request for all kind of practices. For example, in Vajrayana, we have all practices. If you want money, there's Zambala practice. Mm-hmm. If you want love, there's a Kurukule practice. Mm-hmm. If you want protection, there is a Vajrapani practice. If you want wish fulfillment, Green Tara practices. So how does that fit into the Buddhist, ultimately? Aren't we supposed to search for enlightenment rather than money and relationship, right? So then I think we can go back to, let's imagine that you are lost in a desert for 2 weeks. your food is finished, your water is finished, and then you meet a ranger. You will not ask, how can I go back to Manhattan? What will you ask? Can you give me water and food? Right? So Buddha understood the same thing. That if you teach people about enlightenment and emptiness and etc., it will not resonate because that is not what they need at the moment. At the moment, they needed a hope, they needed a blessing. So Buddha taught them how to create the condition for you to become wealthy, how to be successful in relationship, etc., practices and prayers and the conditions. Because he knew that once you have drank the water, your thirst is quenched, you're full, then you will say, how can I go back to Manhattan? Right? And similarly, you will say, how can I get enlightened? Because, this quench, the water in this is a temporary blessing, not ultimate blessing. That is where I think the different practice come about. And even Girintara practices has, kind of deeper practices. Because ultimately, Girintara is not just a fulfilling wish. Ultimately, Girintara is also recognizing that your own equanimity nature is the Girintara. And you have always been Girintara. You've just been pretending to somebody else.
Yes. This is interesting because a lot of people would think, oh, Vajrayana and practical, they wouldn't necessarily put together.
Yeah.
But one of the things you're saying is the role of Vajrayana is a recognition that to practice, there's certain conditions we need in place.
Yes, that immediate suffering has to be addressed.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. So then how does it work? Maybe is the next question, right? How does the practice of Green-Tara, like one thing I'll note is that often what we're talking about, the psychology, we're using a lot of intellect in a way.
Yes,
Of
yes.
course, the practice becomes just rest unfabricated, but we're doing a lot of intellectualizing about the mind and mental activities. And now it seems we start to use imagination, sort of Green-Tara, you're visualizing things. So it also seems not just it seems a shift in the sort of register of practice. And so I'm wondering how this works, how the power of imagination is utilized in these practices.
If you look at it from deeper point of view, every visualization is a visualization, even though you're visualizing a form, it's a visualization of philosophy of emptiness. So Heart Sutra talks about the philosophy of emptiness. Form is emptiness. Emptiness is form. And maybe if you're someone great, like a Chandrakrita, you can understand it, but ordinary people, it is beyond comprehension, right? So what do? We need a bridge. It's too far away. The bridge is the visualization. Because when you visualize a green Tara, no qualified Vajrayana guru will say, visualize green Tara as a solid, you as a solid. First thing Vajrayana guru will say, dissolve everything into the unfabricated nature. Dissolve yourself, dissolve the phenomena. And from that unfabricated, you can call it emptiness, unfabricated equanimity, arises the green Tara. Beat in front, beat you. So you have visualized the Prajna Paramita word of form is emptiness, emptiness is form by doing that. And when you visualize something, even psychology, they say if you visualize doing something again, it makes it easier. Right? Because your brain doesn't know what is real and what is imagination. So similarly, I think in the practice, when you visualize it, comprehension of emptiness and equanimity becomes much more accessible. So it's a skillful method.
It's interesting. We're back to the well of equanimity.
It is.
And drawing the water of this imagined form.
Yes.
And so it's really important then when we do these practices that these practices are connected with this equanimity, this emptiness.
Yes.
So there's a wisdom embedded.
Yes, because the form that you are supposed to visualize, must always have two quality, that it is empty yet appearing yet empty, which, if you want to talk from philosophical point of view, means that everything arises due to condition. That is why it is empty. And because it is empty, you could just create the condition and anything is possible.
Yeah.
You know, you can become billionaire is possible. You can become president is possible.
Yeah.
No, which we have seen, I think.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because of emptiness, anything is possible.
Because nothing is inherent reality.
Nothing is inherent reality. So then so this makes sense for the imagination.
Yeah.
But often we think of Adriana and like Tara with this mantra recitation.
Yes.
So we have this imagination of the Tara from this equanimity space.
Yes.
Then what is the role of the mantra?
The word mantara itself answers that question. Yeah? Man means mind. Tara means protect. So every time you are doing recitation, let's say you recite 1 million times Tara mantra, that means for 1 million times, instead of getting lost in the dualistic concept and enforcing this, you know, your own prejudices again, you have broken down all the prejudices and definitions and remain equanimity for 1 million, you know, time that it took you to recite the 1 million Tara mantra. You know, so that's why mantara means that which protects your mind from all of these concepts and ignorance. Right?
So protecting your mind from
Ignorance.
being trapped by your own definitions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I think can we do audience questions? Yeah. So we might, if people have a question for His Eminence, please raise your hand and we'll run around a mic. We've got a little bit of time. And in the meantime, Your Eminence, while we get that ready, so I'm from Australia, and I know you have a great connection with Australia.
Yes, I do. I love Australia.
And I want to hear a little bit about, you went to Uluru.
Yes.
And you connected with the Aboriginal elders.
Yes, yes.
I was wondering what that meeting was like. That's a very ancient tradition, going back 40,000 years of wisdom. So what was it like, these two wisdom traditions coming together?
You know, it was very, that Uluru was very sacred to me. And meeting with Aborigines was also very, very, you know, kind of important, I will say, in a way for me, for two reasons. One reason is one of my root guru, the Gyalwa Dokhampa, his father is one of the great masters of Nyingma lineage, Bero Rinpoche, a reincarnation of the great translator, you know, Bero Tsana. So when he went to Uluru, he had a vision that, in his vision, he said, the copper, you know, this is the copper-colored mountain from his point of view. So in his vision, he saw a crystal palace on top of the Uluru mountain. He saw, you know, he recognized the footprint of Guru Rinpoche, which even the later Aboriginal elders also told that they also, in their legend, say one of their god took a human form and left the footprint. You know, that was the same. And there were many, you know, other signs, Mahakala, Ganesh, you know, etc. So that was, you know, one reason. And the second reason was that, you know, I wanted to make very clear to our own community, because when we went to Uluru, we had about 500 people, you know, many of the Himalayan, Bhutanese and internationals, you know, that when we think of Guru Padma Sambhava, you know, we also get trapped by the image of Guru Padma Sambhava, right? Like when you think of Tara, you get focused on the green Tara. That's just one of the form. The true form of green Tara is the equanimity, right? The wisdom is the true green Tara. So similarly, Guru Padma Sambhava is the same. You know? So I wanted to also express to Aborigine, also to Himalayan community, that yes, we should go and pay respect to Uluru, but not carry our own definition of Guru Rinpoche. Because even in the text itself, it is said that when Guru Rinpoche goes to copper-colored mountain to subdue the, you know, the negative, at that time, the cannibals, etc., living there, he will not look like Guru Rinpoche that we know. He will look like them. You know, if they have 3 head, Guru Rinpoche will have a 9 head, you know. True, because he has to adopt the culture, right? So when we go to Uluru, I think we have to respect the indigenous culture and see the Guru Rinpoche in that form, right? Because if we don't do that, then, you know, then we will be disrespecting their culture, right? So for me, I thought when I saw some, you know, elderly Aborigine, huge and big, I thought, oh, who knows? He's a Guru Rinpoche, you know.
Yeah.
In Australia, there's the Aussie version of Guru Rinpoche, Aboriginal version of Guru Rinpoche, you know. So that I was, you know, I felt that was a very, very important lesson for me to, you know, get out of even definition of Guru Rinpoche in a fixed form.
Thank you. And that's a great teaching for all of us.
Yeah, and that I have to thank my friend Jonathan and Diana, you know, who arranged me to meet the elders of the, you know, the tribe.
It's a historic meeting, actually. Incredible. All right. Do we have anyone got a question? Raise their hands. Yeah. Oh.
So much. Thank you so much for your insights in fear, which of course pervades our society, I think. But can you talk a little more about how this society can overcome the great anger that it feels and expresses virtually every day?
Yes. I think that when we feel anger, you know, towards the, you know, I think towards whatever, I think we are, in a way, we are feeling anger because we are forgetting to see other people, other beings, equal, as similar to yourself. You know? Because whatever they are doing that is making us angry, making us upset, I'm not saying we have to condone it, but we have to understand it that they are pursuing their own version of happiness, their own version of avoiding suffering. And we don't have to necessarily condone it. We can take steps to protect ourselves. But by having that resentment and anger, it doesn't change the outcome, but we are just destroying our own life, our own peace of mind. You know? So yes, is it self-love to protect our peace, take the necessary steps? Yes. But I think the compassion to understand that every beings are chasing their own version of happiness and own version of protecting themselves from the pain that we are doing. Recognition of that, I think, is very important. But protecting yourself, I agree 100%. There's a story about there was a cobra snake, you know, that everybody used to fear in the village. He used to bite and kill. And one day he met the Buddha, and the Buddha said, you know, why are you like that? You know, look at you. You're feared by everybody, hated by everybody. You know, one day they will come and kill you. So he said, okay, from today onwards, I am your student. I will not get, you know. And then after a few months, Buddha went and he saw the cobra had become so weak because now they knew that villagers knew he doesn't attack. So they started abusing him, you know, beating him weak. Then the Buddha said, why did you become like that? He said, you told me not to bite. The Buddha said, yes, I told you not to bite, but you know, you can hiss. You know, I think that's the self-love Buddha is talking, you know.
We have a few questions from the online audience as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So the first question is, where and when can Western people, like in the US or Australia, study with you in person?
And that is, I think, I do have social media.
Yeah.
I think the Gyalwa Dokhampa Facebook. So we have retreats in Australia. Australia, mostly I'm based in Perth.
Yeah.
So Perth is where I spend a lot of time, and then Bhutan, Kingdom of Bhutan is second place, and Nepal and US also I come once a year. And now I think the best thing about the technology and the COVID taught us is to go online.
Yeah.
So many of our retreats are online, and you can join. It's free of cost, So
And that is that your website is the best way to connect there?
yes, Facebook actually.
Facebook.
social
Okay,
media,
maybe the staff can put the link in
Actually,
chat.
yes. I think even better than that is there's nowadays we came up with if you don't mind the competition.
Yeah, I love competition.
There's I have a podcast too. It's called
yes.
The Restful Mind.
Yes, yes. It's much better than my one, I'm sure.
Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Mine is very new, just few years. So I think that is the one way to I think
Yeah.
listen to the Restful Mind. And there's also a meditation app that we have developed called Restful Mind. It is, So I think, these are the immediate ones that you can access.
And we'll put the links in the chat and also the show notes for people listening on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then if there's more questions here, yes, we have one here. We'll get them up for the online audience.
Your Eminence, this is not so much a question, but when you were talking about the Gesar,
Yes.
I was thinking certainly in America, but it's become an international thing, is the Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's Odyssey,
Yeah.
based on, of course, Western
Yes.
mythology. I wondered if you'd seen it yet and what your thinking is.
I haven't seen this version, but I've seen the older version. I read the book Odyssey by Homer, no? Yeah, I actually love all of this mythology, because I feel that, in a world that arises due to cause and condition, anything is possible. So I love all of this mythology, be it Zeus or,
Cyclops.
yeah, Cyclops, Golden Fleece. I very much enjoy them. But generally, I always, kind of try to, try to think that between the things that you enjoy and between the way life really is, there should be some distinction. It's good to enjoy anything, but not to get carried away. Right? So I think I enjoy social media, everything, but I don't necessarily believe that everything that's expressed there is true, or that my life should be like that, right? Because even if what is sharing is true, it is one aspect of life, right? If there's because if this is important, because nowadays when you watch too many romantic movies, social media, you get a image of how life should be, how things should be, even though it may not really, even for the creator themselves. And then you compare your life, and then if you feel short, then you feel you are lacking, which is against the wisdom of equanimity, right? So this is, I think, a distinction that we have to, carry while we enjoy, everything, not only Odyssey, even Superman.
Superman, yeah. Yeah, we have to watch the Odyssey without hope or fear. That's the challenge. Here's another online question. Can you practice Catholicism and Buddhism at the same time?
I think so, because Buddhism at the end, if you take away all the religion and I think the religion part is the method, right? Basically, if you understand that your past created your present choice and decision is creating your future. If you believe that, you already understand karma. You call yourself Buddhist or not, doesn't matter. Even if you call yourself Buddhist, but you don't understand this point, you are not a Buddhist.
Trapped in your own definition.
Yes, you believe you're Buddhist because you met somebody Himalaya, you go to a temple, you think, but you actually know you're not a Buddhist, right? So I think if you understand the cause conditioned, past created present, present created thing, and because it is created by cause and conditioned, nothing has inherent reality. If you understand these 2 points, you have understood the entirety of Buddhist teaching in essence. So if I don't think any religion will really interfere with that understanding.
Yeah, very nice. Question here. We'll go online again. There's a few more. This one is basically the question is the question is on impermanence, and they're thinking that but who am I if I'm changing moment to moment? And then they're thinking that I'm a continuum of a mental stream, a mental continuum. And so then isn't a mental continuum real? Isn't impermanence and the mental continuum contradictory? How can you put those two together?
So I guess if you are a seed of mango was planted and later it becomes a mango tree. It is the same continuum, but it's not the same. Right?
Yeah. The question about advice on how to best use Kala Chakra practice in the present is the question.
I think, there's an interesting story about, I'm not sure it's Kala Chakra, but I think so. There was a story that one day a king saw monks flying in the sky. He was so amazed and he said, who are they? They said they are the students of the Buddha. Then he went to meet Buddha and said, I also want to get enlightened. Buddha said, okay, give up your queen, your palace and come. He said, no, sorry, I cannot do that. I enjoy my luxury too much. Then he said, okay, is there another way I can get enlightened without giving up these? And this is what I think we modern people really want. We want the best of the both worlds. So I think that's where the Vajrayana, I think the Kala Chakra probably, if I remember correctly, then Buddha said, okay, if you cannot give up these things, right, you must at least be able to give up the concept of these things, right? Concept of your palace being palace and queens, and success and failure. You can be surrounded by them, but, give up the concept, the definition of this. Then there is a way. So it is said that through Kala Chakra, not only him, his queen, his entirety became enlightened without having to give up anything, physically, right? Because ultimately, mentally is what we are really trying to work.
It's like when you were talking before that you're in love with the idea of the perfect person.
Exactly. If you have that understanding, even if you're married, you probably will get enlightened.
Yeah.
Because you will see perfection in others.
Why not?
Yeah. Why not? In your life, with perfection, with your life too, as it is, or beyond perfection, I would say.
Yeah. And then there's a question about reincarnation. And the question is basically, when there's reincarnation, is it always one person reincarnating with all their past karma? Or is it possible for one person to divide into two people? So like the example is, could Einstein split into two people and that does go on?
I think until you're enlightened, probably not.
Yeah.
Once you're enlightened, then it is said that enlightenment is just enlightenment manifest. Example is very beautifully given by Gampopa. He said that when we see manifestations, it is a combination of Buddha's realization, his wisdom, and his aspiration and people's karma. Example he gave was moon, pot, and the water, and the reflection that you see, right? So you can't really say that Buddha really manifested, came down. The moon is still up there. But because of the moon and the water and the pot, you can see the reflection. If you have 1,000 pot, you will see 1,000 reflections, you know. But until then, I think probably not, you know. If not, we can give all the bad karma to our other twin, and we can enjoy the good karma also.
I'll take the good karma. You take the bad karma. Yeah, if we only could.
Yeah.
So emanation and reincarnation is two different sort of phenomena.
I think we are all reincarnated.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But emanation is like, you know, is the wisdom that is getting emanated. You know.
Okay, we'll do one last question. Is there any question here? Okay, we have one here.
Thank you so much. This has been a great talk. I think something I struggle with a lot is the sort of, you've been talking a lot about equanimity tonight, and it's, I'm going through my day and I find myself like plugging in my earphones and listening to music, and I get like caught up in trying to live the perfect way that's going to make me equanimous. But what that ends up making me do is becoming this like really rigid, kind of like stuck on a certain way of being. And then I find these times where have my headphones in them and I just feel present, And so there's this tension between what I do and where my mind's at. And I just wondered if you could speak to how to balance those, because we do have to make choices on how we live every day, but still it's like how we place our mind that seems to be most important. So, and I struggle with that balance. Thank you.
I personally, from my experience, I feel that some sort of formal practice daily is very important. It doesn't have to be long. It can even be 10 minutes every morning. Because what a formal practice does, of course, your whole life is actually the raid practice. But what the formal practice does is, if you do a 10-minute of, quality practice means your mind has to be present. Right? I'm sure you guys will not do, but in the Himalayan region, because practice has become so much a cultural thing that sometimes we chant and check phone at the same time, We watch TV and chant, I'm sure you guys will never do like that, Never, I'm sure. Because when you do like that, you are trying to work on your mind, but mind is not here. There's no one to work on. It's like empty hall, right? So that is why a daily practice, 10-minute, 15-minute, where you are fully present, I think is very important, because that sets the perspective of your entire day. So that's why our practice, preferable in the morning, 10 to 15-minute, regular timing, disciplined, will create the foundation for you. And then I don't think the perfection life is not that we are really chasing. We are, as a practitioner, I think we are just chasing two things. That one thing is that in our life, making sure that we are not creating harm to other being. And if possible, we are creating the positive condition by doing something meaningful to others. If it can be just a smile, thank you, holding open the door, it's all a practice. That is one. And in philosophically, I think we are trying to become less rigid by, kind of going with the flow, right? For example, it rains suddenly, and instead of saying, I have to, wow, it's ruined my makeup, ruined my everything, remind yourself, oh, I am waterproof, right? So, so then, of course, in the beginning, I think the important decisions you will still have to make, but in small things, right? Don't let it bother you. Right? Food is not too hot, Like when I was a child, I always wanted to drink cold tea, but my teacher scolds me, drink hot tea. What happens 20 years now is called iced coffee, iced latte. In my time when I was a child, that was the, never heard of it. Right? So, so that's why I think the small things, little bit of acceptance, right? It doesn't go your way. Every acceptance is a building way to the understanding of equanimity. And equanimity is understanding that life is already perfect. It's your own definition of perfection, imperfection, that is creating the problem. Yeah.
Your Eminence, I just wanted to ask this one last question from the online audience.
Yeah,
This person they are practicing Chenrei Sikh.
Okay.
And their question is they don't know exactly what to focus on. They're wondering, should they be focusing on the syllables of the mantra or the hand implements? They're a bit confused about what to focus on when visualizing.
I think, every practice has a three component, which are very important. The first component is your motivation, right? So even if you're doing 10 minutes of Avalokitesvara practice, Clear practice, aspiration that today I'm going to Avalokitesvara practice for the benefit and a blessing for myself and every sentient being who wants happiness, who doesn't want suffering, I am doing that, right? And this is perhaps the most important practice as well as the training. Because, nowadays I read an article that said loneliness is worse than smoking 30 cigarettes a day. Right? See, 30 cigarettes, I think, right? So you must connect with the people. But if you have a heart, I want to connect with the person because it's good for my health. You're already on the wrong foot to start a relationship. But if you have a mind that recognizes every sentient being want happiness, do not want suffering, that even a small prayer I'm doing may benefit them. You have opened you are creating the foundation for that. Every relationship you have may last 10 years, maybe 1 hour, maybe 5 minutes, but it becomes a genuine and sincere relationship that have a positive impact on both of us, right? So that's why the motivation is the most important part of practice, the first. The second part of practice, whether it is focusing on the form or the, mantra or the, visualization, the main idea is to be present. Why is visualizing important? Because as long as you are visualizing, means your mind is present, right? So whether it's a form or a mantra, these are just steps, right? And then the third part of the practice is that dedication, that today the practice I have done, may the blessing be shared to everybody, so that may everybody get temporary blessings of good health, wealth, etc. And ultimately, recognize the Buddha within yourself, the dedication, the motivation, motivation opens up your heart. Right now, our hearts are not very open. That's why if you ask somebody asks you, can you truly say how many people you love? You have to count 5. But no, I remember this person did something to me, only 4. And if you calculate, maybe there's only 1 or 2 left because, he said something in the morning, so take him out. Right? So our hearts are not very opened. It's very conditional, very, narrow. That's why we can't fit many people. Even if we can fit people, they also have to listen to our rules and conditions. It's like sitting in a very narrow place, right? It's very uncomfortable for you as well as for the people in your life because of our hearts not open. So motivation practice opens up your heart to see others as wanting happiness, not wanting suffering, right? Even though you may not agree with them, you are upset with them, but you at least understand their motivation. So open up the heart is the first practice, and the second is the presence of the mind. You're working on the mind, so mind should at least be here. And the third is that dedication. So these 3 are if you are doing these 3, your practice, even your visualization, not too good, doesn't matter. No one's the secret is no one's visualization that good. Takes time.
Thank you so much, Your Eminence. Any final advice to close the night as we finish up that you could share with us?
I just, only thing that I want to request is that, the world as it is, is also due to our choice and the decisions that we have made. Sometimes the decision is not necessarily to do something negative, but not to do, anything to help others when you can, you have the ability. So that is why I think that I want to thank each and everyone who is trying to make their world better in their own way. And we don't all have to copy each other too. Some can do podcasts, some can do housing, some can, come on the podcast and talk some nonsense, Some can be good to their parents, some can help, in their own community. Some can just speak kindly to their husband and wife, as a practice, right? So in that way, I want to thank each and everyone who makes the world better. And the world is better. At least your surrounding world will be better if we put the effort, right? And let's not worry too much about the wider world. Let's worry about our own effort and the cause and conditions that we are putting. That's within our control. Worrying about the world which is beyond your control, getting angry, upset, is something that has been going on for centuries and will be going on. It's like, it's like how the parent always say, when we were younger, we were not like that, and then we will do the same thing when we are older. Thank you.
Your Eminence, thank you so
very
much.
Thank you
Such an
very
honor and
much.
it's been so much fun. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, everyone at home.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Chanju sencho rinpoche Ma ke panama ke gyurachi Kya pare nyambai me pa